Why do we ask questions? Why do we have the natural tendency to be curious and solve problems? Why exactly do we ask? Why? Do they work like a bunch of endless algorithms in a complex program? Or are they just pieces of a puzzle that make us ourselves? 1 out of 10. 1 from 100. 1 in a million. Will my choice of changes ever make an impact? It will. And you just did. Choosing to listen, watching these clips, no matter how tiny or huge your decisions are, they still mean something to someone out there. So, welcome to Economic Newsflash, and you're tuning in to Centris News Business Today. Get ready to bust that feed because we have the thing for you. I'm your host, Alicia Del Rosario, and I sure am hyped to unpack today's findings with you. Now, you may be wondering why I asked those questions earlier and how they correlate to our topic for today's episode. Well, in economics, we have this certain process called the business cycle. And wait, I know most of you may say something like, huh? I'm just a student and have much more to know about. I'm not ready to be part of the workplace yet. Don't worry, so was I. Yet, here I am. Before you even think about clicking off, give me a bit to explain that these are just a bunch of fancy words that can be broken down into simple terminologies. You'll have fun too, trust me. First of all, what is the business cycle? Seems like science ain't the only one teaching about cycles. The business cycle, also known as the economic cycle, is a record of fluctuations found in the growth of a specific system, like the business itself, a nation, or even the entire world. For us to further understand how it works, we'll need to take note of the different terms being used. Besides your childhood, the business cycle is composed of different phases. Firstly, the peak is the highest point in the cycle. This indicates that the economy has done well in this period. Next up, contraction is normally what comes right after the peak. You know what they say, what comes up must come down, and this shows the cycle's decline. When this continues for 2 or more periods, it's identified as a recession. Moving further down, we reach the trough, the lowest point in the cycle, which is most likely negative. In this phase, they don't do that good. You could say they've reached rock bottom. I don't want to sound emotional, but even the economy can have depression. So, this occurs when the decline takes way longer and is much more severe. One of the most famous economic downturns would be the Great Depression. Don't let that news keep you sad though, because it's time for expansion! Remember that it's just a phase and that there's still space for recovery, which is the part where business works toward improvement as they go back to where they came. When the cycle expands, it means that it's growing and in good condition. After this, we can return to the peak and the business cycle repeats. Now that we understand how the business cycle works, let's take a moment to analyze how this can be applied in daily life. For example, Here is a chart that compares Canada's GDP with the world. For those who don't know, GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product. I bet that by now it's pretty simple to identify the different parts of the business cycle. As you can see, the growth rate starts to contract from 2019 to 2020. Then, we reach the lowest point, or the trough, at that time. After that, it boosts up to its peak or highest point during 2021, where it starts to contract again until 2022. Then, since it continues to contract once more until 2023, we call that a recession. And finally, it remains constant or stable until 2024. As you can see, we don't have 2025 in the graphs representing Canada because the year just started. And for the world's chart, it's not as finalized yet because 2024 just ended. And this chart, it's more precise because we can see Canada's GDP throughout each quarter. According to the Bank of Canada, they expect the GDP to rise around 1.8% this year. Now that we've discussed these things and observed that their economic growth seems to be more stable, it'll be easier to slowly expand towards their goal of 2% for 2026 or later. Thus, we can conclude that it's a reasonable choice to invest in Canada for this year and onward. Thank you for listening to this news flash. Once again, you're tuning in to Centris News Business Today. I'm your enthusiastic and determined host, Alicia. Signing out!